Patagonia, 1887. A railroad crew hammering into the dirt pulled out a skull the size of a horse's head with a beak that looked exactly like a fireman's axe, which means the first human to ever meet a terror bird shook hands with its severed head. Quite an introduction. This bird stood taller than a horse at the shoulder, could outrun one too, and dominated South America for an era so long it makes the Roman Empire look like a long weekend. People often think of a land bridge as a nice thing, a way for two continents to finally meet. For this bird, it was an execution notice. The terror bird died. Here's what really happened. Picture a bird that makes a grizzly stand on its hind legs look like a middleweight, staring down across the grasslands of ancient South America. Its skull alone stretching nearly 2 feet long. The beak was the whole point. Thick, hooked, coming to a point that would make a pickaxe jealous. A fireman's axe forged out of bone and bolted to the face of a giant bird that weighed close to 300 pounds. That beak had one job: smash down on a spine and deliver a single catastrophic blow. The bill itself was a guillotine. Teeth were unnecessary. Paleontologists estimate that violence was the purpose of every ounce of this animal. Its legs were long, dense with muscle, and ended in powerful clawed toes that could pin struggling prey to the ground. And it was fast, capable of sprinting over 30 miles per hour across open terrain. Almost nothing in its world could outrun it. The victim's dossier reads like a profile of a perfect predator. It stalked through savannas and open woodlands on a continent that, for an almost incomprehensible stretch of time, was completely cut off from the rest of the planet. South America spent most of the age of mammals as an island, a massive drifting laboratory, where evolution took a radically different path, while North America, Europe, and Asia filled their top predator roles with advanced placental mammals, saber-toothed, cats, wolves, bears. South America was left to its own devices. And here, the throne was not handed to a mammal. Birds took it. Forus racus and its relatives, the terror birds, emerged early in the Paleocene, right after the dinosaurs vanished, and they wasted no time claiming the empty niches. They grew larger with each passing epoch, their beaks evolving into crushing, cleaving instruments that could dispatch even the hefty native herbivores toxodonts, ground sloths, leptopterns roaming the same plains. For nearly 60 million years, this was the unchallenged apex hunter of an entire continent. The beak performed all the killing, eliminating any need for sharp teeth. Since nothing hunted the hunter, there was no pressure to shrink or hide. It was a reign defined by stillness, a world where the king walked slow because nothing dared run toward it. The cage door swung open. That door was the Isthmus of Panama, rising from the sea around 3 million years ago. For the first time in eons, South America had a land connection to the north. Scientists call it the Great American Interchange. Sounds almost friendly, like a student exchange program. In practice, it was an invasion. Saber-toothed cats, wolves, bears, horses, deer, entire ecosystems marching south across a fresh bridge of volcanic rock. The terror bird, undisputed king of the open plains, suddenly had neighbors it never asked for, and a new kind of threat that didn't even bother hunting it. So what actually killed the bird with the axe beak? Let's pin up the evidence and start with the prime suspect. First suspect, direct competition. An old familiar story. Saber-toothed cats and pack hunting canids swept southward, and native marsupial predators practically vanished in their wake. Within a geological eye blink, saber-tooth-like marsupials and wolf-like forms were just gone. But the terror bird sticks out like a witness who refuses to play along. Fossil evidence reveals healed fractures on its leg bones. This bird survived vicious battles and was no fragile pushover. Its lineage diversified into over a dozen species, some even larger, and for its entire 60 million year reign, it stayed the unchallenged apex predator of the continent. If anything could hold the line, it should have been this towering, axe-beaked titan. The sheer physical dominance makes the competition theory feel like a gun with no bullets. The terror bird's fossil record shows it coexisted with placental invaders for hundreds of thousands of years, a delay that contradicts a simple replacement story. And that nagging doubt opens the door to a different suspect entirely. Second suspect wears no face and carries no weapon. Slow, inexorable cooling gripped Earth. During the late Pliocene, global temperatures tumbled several degrees Fahrenheit, utterly reshaping ecosystems. The terror bird's open savanna kingdom began to fracture. Grasslands retreated, carved up by advancing forests and tangled scrubland. An animal engineered for wide open pursuit suddenly faced a world that was closing in. Long legs, built to devour miles of flat ground, now tripped over roots and brambles. The axe beak that struck like a guillotine found fewer clear shots in dense cover. Height became a liability, speed, a fading memory. But placing the blame squarely on climate hits a wall. Terror bird fossils vanished from the record around 1.8 million years ago. That's the date stamped on its exit paperwork. Yet the timing hides a crucial clue. The truly crushing glacial cycles, The ones that buried continents under vast ice didn't reach their peak until roughly 1 million years later. These birds were already gone, while the Great Ice Age was still in its earliest stages. The chronology does not align neatly. Other open country specialists, giant ground sloths, native hoofed herbivores, even large armadillo relatives, stumbled through the same changing world without collapsing entirely. Why did the terror bird, with an eternity of evolutionary dominance, fold so completely? The climate suspect carries weight, but the evidence is circumstantial at best. Something else was at work. Two pin suspects, neither fits. Competition had motive, but the timeline's messy. The terror bird held on alongside saber-tooths for ages. Climate had the right kind of weapon, but the dates are off by nearly 1 million years, and other big grazers survived. The case feels cold, but the fossil record is holding a third card, and it's about to press very hard on a culprit nobody saw coming. The land bridge didn't build itself overnight, but when the sea finally retreated, the Great American Interchange began, and it wasn't just predators that crossed. Saber-toothed cats came first. Ambush specialists with 7-inch fangs that could sever a spine evolved for taking down giant ground sloths. Dire wolves and other pack-hunting dogs followed close behind, using relentless pursuit and coordinated exhaustion to bring down prey no single killer could handle alone. The terror bird, standing taller than a grizzly on flat ground, had never competed with anything like these new arrivals. Its old rivals were slow, solitary marsupial predators. The bird's entire strategy was the opposite. A single bone-shattering strike from a beak shaped like a pickaxe, delivered at the end of a short sprint. One and done, but the invaders didn't fight that way. They hid in brush and pounced from cover, or ran their target across miles of open plain until it simply collapsed. The terror bird became a billboard impossible to miss, hard to hide. Yet here's the twist. It survived for nearly 1 million years after the invaders arrived, outlasting many of the early placental species that crossed the bridge. At sites in Argentina, terror bird bones and saber-tooth bones lie side by side in the same rock layers, not stacked, not one replacing the other. Two apex predators sharing the same zip code for hundreds of thousands of years. The saber-tooth specialized in ambushing giant sloths in the brush. The terror bird owned the open plains, chasing fleet-footed herbivores no heavy cat could catch. Different menus, different shifts, no direct extermination is visible in the fossil record. So if the saber-tooths weren't responsible, then something else must have been. That something arrived on hooves, but that uneasy equilibrium eventually snapped. The culprit was not a carnivore at all. Here's the leading theory, and it's got a cruel irony to it. Horses, deer, and rodents poured south across that bridge and bred like wildfire across the plains. They didn't hunt the terror bird, but they ate its kingdom. They grazed the high grass that stitched the savanna together, stripping it before native herbivores could recover. The large, slow prey glyptodonts, ground sloths, and giant armadillos began to starve. Those ancient grazers couldn't compete with the invasive herds. The once mile-wide hunting grounds shattered into a patchwork of scrub and isolated clearings. Then the planet twisted the knife. Late Pliocene cooling dropped global temperatures by roughly 4 degrees Fahrenheit. Rainfall patterns shifted, stressing the remaining grasslands even further. Each glacial advance pushed the tree line southward, compressing the savanna into ever-narrowing bands. A 30-mile-an-hour sprinter built for open plains now faced tangled woodland. Its long legs, optimized for straight sprinting, were too rigid for twisting forest paths. The axebeak, designed to crush vertebrae, now snagged on branches instead of spines. The very specialization that made the terror bird an apex predator for 60 million years became a trap. No carnivore ever challenged it directly. The cage door didn't release a superior predator. It released a landscaping crew that ate the foundation out from under the entire food web, and the Ice Age finished the job. And that's the working blueprint. A continent-wide famine, a climate shift, and millions of hooved mouths undoing 60 million years of dominance. There was no final battle. No heroic last stand happened. A slow starvation of the whole food web occurred, capped by ice. After that last snapshot in Patagonia, the fossil record goes silent. The terror bird story doesn't end with a bang. It ends with a handful of broken bones from southern Argentina, and then nothing. With no confirmed skeletons in younger rocks, the ghost exit stage left. Now that doesn't mean the bird dropped dead exactly on schedule. The preservation of fossils is an exceptional event. For every terror bird that died on open ground and was scattered by scavengers, for every skeleton consumed by acidic soil in a forest clearing, there is no trace. We have no idea how many lingered past that last snapshot, in remote valleys where no sediment buried them. The fossil record is a broken window, and we're peering through shards. Strangely enough, a living relative of the terror bird still exists. But there's a twist. About 3,000 miles north of those Patagonian cliffs, A bird called the Sariema still runs through the scrub forests of Brazil and Argentina. It stands a little over 3 feet tall, comically undersized compared to its ancestor, but the family resemblance is unmistakable to anyone who studies terror bird bones. The hooked beak is unmistakable, as are the large forward-facing eyes, built for judging distance, and the raised killing claw on the second toe, a weapon it still uses to pin small lizards and snakes to the ground before striking. Watching a Sariema hunt is like watching a terror bird scaled down to the size of a cocker spaniel. It sprints, stops, stabs with its beak at the base of the prey's skull. The same movement, the same precision strike, just delivered from a body you could hold in both arms instead of one that could look you in the eye. And here is a detail that sends a chill through me. When a Sariema kills a snake, it grabs the body in its beak and smashes it against a rock over and over until the spine is shattered into pieces. That thrashing is not random. We are witnessing a feeding behavior that matches exactly the one the terror bird used against its own prey some 40 million years earlier. A neural circuit preserved across epochs, passed down through branches of the family that survived the interchange while the giant fell. This action is not something any mammal teaches its young. Neither hawk nor eagle employs this move. It's ghost choreography, a fragment of ancient programming still running in a bird that weighs barely 3 pounds. The Sariema does not rule a continent. It forages in the underbrush for insects and small vertebrates. The open plains, which once stretched over a great distance in every direction, have shrunk into scattered clearings between thorny thickets. But the DNA inside its cells knows what its ancestors knew. The terror bird never really vanished from South America. It just got smaller, quieter, pushed to the edges by the same forces that collapsed its kingdom. Every Sariema alive today is a living shadow of that giant, still walking the same continent, still hunting with the same axe strike, waiting for a savanna that will never return. A land bridge sounds friendly. 2 continents finally shake hands. For the terror bird, it was a slow-motion death sentence. 60 million years of calm isolation, perfecting the axe-beak strike. Then the cage door swung open. This giant did not meet a stronger enemy in combat. It met hungry mouths at ground level, creatures that ate the grass, holding its kingdom together. Invasive herbivores stripped the savanna bare, and the climate wobbled next, shaving off 4 degrees Fahrenheit and turning open plains into a tangled maze. A hunter built for 30-mile-an-hour dashes found itself trapped where every branch snagged its beak. Specialization, the very thing that forged the ultimate predator, became the trap. Now little Sariemas carry the ghost of that lineage, smashing snakes against rocks with the same lethal motion packed into a 3-pound frame. If this case pulls you in, if you want more investigations where the murder weapon is something nobody thought to check, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm we should keep digging into closed cases from deep time.